Okay, in this video we'll start talking about optimizing graphics for the web. So here I'm in Photoshop, and in Photoshop I have this image open and I want to put this on a web page. So how do I do that? Well, first of all, let's take a look at some of the details of the image. It's 68 megabytes, and 68 megabytes isn't going to download fast over a web page, or especially on mobile. So we want to get this file size to be down as small as possible. Second thing I notice is that I'm viewing this file at 23%, and that just clues me into the fact that it's probably huge. So the first thing we want to do is we want to take a look at the image size. I'm going to go to the image menu, down to image size. And in the image size dialog box, you can see here that it's 6,000 pixels wide by 4,000 pixels high. So generally, most modern monitors that you might be sitting in front of might be able to view like 2,000 pixels wide. This is 6,000 pixels, so that's 3 times what we possibly could look at. And the pixel height is 4,000, and that's probably way too big. So what we want to do is we want to reduce this. Now for the screen resolution is set to 72. 72 is a default resolution for Mac monitors. For PC, the default resolution is 96 pixels per inch. So we want to get this down. We can use 72, and that's fine as a benchmark for here, since I am on a Mac. The resample section will allow you to choose different ways that the file can be changed. So bicubic sharper when I'm reducing the file size, bicubic smoother if I'm making it larger, right? And then you can set this to automatic, so it'll just automatically just choose whichever one that you want to do. So I'm just going to set that to automatic. That might be the default for what you have set. So one thing I've found is that setting this to a width that is less than what your monitor width would be is probably a good idea. So I'm going to use 1280 pixels wide, 1280 by 853. And it gives us an example here. It says that it was 68.7 megabytes, and it's going to make that 3.12 megabytes, which is still too big for the web. Target size that we want to get to is probably like 1 megabyte or less. So anything less than a megabyte is really good. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK on that, and that'll be my first step. So then I'm just going to hit Command 0 to zoom this back in to 100%. It's about 100%. And now I can see what the image is going to look like. And you can see that it's still huge, especially on this monitor. If that's 100%, if this is inside of a web page, it's going to take up a huge amount of space, right? So what I want to do here is I want to crank this down, make it much smaller. It's already a JPEG file, which means there's already compression applied to it, but I need to make this file a lot smaller. So in Photoshop, there's a couple different ways to export web assets. So I'm going to go to File to Export, and you can see that there's a quick export option. The quick export option allows us to quickly export as a JPEG file. That can be changed in the preferences. It could be PNG, it could be SVG, it could be a bunch of different things. So you can change this option there. Export As will bring up a dialog box that will show you some options. And then Save for Web Legacy is the old way of doing things. I like this method because it allows you to compare and contrast. So I'm just going to choose this for now for our purposes. And I'll bring up this dialog box. And you can see here that I have some presets for JPEG. There's PNG file format, and there's a number of different GIF file formats as well. So, and then in the format dropdown, there's an additional option here, WBPMP. It's a new file format, so we can take a look at this. So this brought this down at this setting, JPEG high, with a quality of 60, no blur, optimized. And that brought this down to 66K, which is incredibly small. And looking at the image, I still see a lot of good detail. What you want to look for is you want to look for any artifacts or any part of the image that's being broken up. And this is at 100%, so you just want to check and make sure that the image isn't getting destroyed. So there's a lot of good detail here still, so that would be a good setting. Now, the way that this works is that the lower the setting is, the lower the compression. So you can see some changes were made there, and then the file size is bigger. If I go to maximum, so that's more quality, and then the file size is much larger, 272K. So maximum is quality. This is a quality. Low is lower quality, and that's 22K. And then so I'm going to pick something in the middle here, high. 66K is a little bit larger, but it's still, we don't want it to lose the quality. If you do introduce blur, it's going to blur throughout the entire image. It's not selectional, but that will try to decrease the file size. If I would just grab this slider and I'll just increase that. If I add just a little bit of blur, you see that it made the file size slightly smaller. I don't want to add any blur though. I'm just going to just pull that back. So just take a look, make sure the file size is what you want, 1280 by 853 and 66K. That's a good start. So now I'm going to go ahead and click Save. And for now, I'll just throw this on the desktop so I can find it. And I'm going to go ahead and click Save. Now, when you save files from Photoshop for other image editing applications, they add a bunch of metadata to those files. So it could be, image information about the shot, the date, and all that other stuff. So those things can be removed with a program that's called ImageOptim. So I have the program loaded here. It's a free download. You can download this on the internet. I'm just going to go open up a Finder window now. I'm going to just get ImageOptim up here. And the way that you use this application, so I'm going to go to the desktop to where I saved that image. So just keep in mind it's 68 kilobytes. Remember that Photoshop told us it was 66. It's, the Mac OS usually rounds things up or down, so it says it's 68K. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this file and drag it into ImageOptim and let it do its thing. And it says that the savings were 6.7%, so that brought it down to 63K. Now you could run this more than once, but every time that you run it, the quality will be affected. So just again, you open up the image and just look, see if the quality is there for what you need. And, if you wanted to, like I said, again, and then, it would try to do it again, but I think that's the end of the road for this one. So this JPEG file is much, much smaller than we started off. Remember, we started off with a file that's I think it was 37 megabytes. Now we have a file that's 63 kilobytes. So that's really good. And then you can upload that to your web page. Keep in mind also that if you have a ton of different images that are on one page, all those get counted towards the full size of your HTML page. So if you have 300 images on one page and all those images equals 7 megabytes, that's all counted towards the file size of your HTML or your web page.